Part 37. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 361. Several righteous people responded hastily, but after just a few moves, they all failed. Even the elder of the sect failed to get a good deal. He was cut like a bloody gourd by the sword energy and was already dying. At this moment, everyone present looked at Suliang with extreme horror. What on earth is going on with this Suliang? Why is his combat power so terrifying? Suliang's cultivation is quite complex, starting from the return of the underworld sea energy, to a special and top-notch powerful physique, to all the inheritance of the Qing Emperor that he had previously obtained and mastered. Now, although Suliang is only at the 5th level of immortality realm, his combat power is terrifying. What is the concept of being invincible under detachment? Volume 1 Chapter 341 Another simulation, dividing the world with one finger. Not to mention the younger generation, even the elders and senior officials of the Shang Zone are no match for Suliang. Even if it is a transcendent existence, Suliang can naturally struggle with it for a while. Even if he cannot win, he can still be undefeated. Therefore, with just a few righteous geniuses and the elders behind them, Suliang easily dealt with them and crushed them directly. Brother Suliang, come on. Tao Yaoyao hid next to Suliang, waving her hands to cheer, excited and admiring. Brother Suliang is the strongest, kill them, Brother Suliang is the best. But mid-sentence, Tao Yaoyao was stunned. Isn't this right? He is obviously the son of the century who has been blessed by luck, but why did he suddenly become a cute mascot? It always feels a bit inconsistent. But no matter what, this person is Brother Suliang anyway. What's wrong with cheering Brother Suliang on? Others want to do this, but they can't do it? Snort. So, after just a moment's hesitation, Tao Yaoyao started dancing again, and her cheering became even more powerful. After a while, after Suliang defeated all the geniuses, he looked back at Tao Yaoyao and said, "Yao Yao Yao, let's go." He, Brother Suliang is indeed the most powerful. Tao Yaoyao chuckled and stepped forward quickly. She touched Suliang's shoulders with her soft and delicate jade hands, kneading and pounding them lightly or heavily, with a flattering smile on her face. "Hey, Brother Suliang, thank you for your hard work. Yao Yao is here to reward your brother. How are you doing?" Yao Yao gives your brother a pat on the shoulder. "Does he feel comfortable?" Suliang nodded and glanced at Tao Yaoyao in surprise. What the hell is going on with this girl? First she cheered her up like a mascot, and now she massages and slaps her shoulders. Does she really have no moral integrity? But, let me put it this way, it is indeed very comfortable. After running around for a long time, Suliang and Tao Yaoyao finally returned to Shengjing and rushed home. It's better to be at home. Tao Yaoyao said sincerely, compared with the traveling on the road, and even the aristocratic family in the Devil's Path, Tao Yaoyao actually felt that Shengjing was her home. Although there is a nasty woman like Mu Qingqian in this family, Brother Suliang is also there, which is good. Stepping through the gate of the mansion and walking into the inner courtyard, Suliang and Tao Yaoyao immediately saw the girls sitting in the courtyard talking about something. At this time, the girls also noticed the movement and subconsciously looked in the direction of Suliang. The moment they saw Suliang, the girls' eyes all shone with light. Suliang. Qin Benjao was the first to jump up, impatiently, rushed towards Suliang, and ran into Suliang's arms. It's the smell of Suliang, he. Qin Benjao's little face rubbed against Suliang's arms, feeling extremely happy. Suliang he hugged his girlfriend tightly with his backhand and reunited after a long separation. Suliang he also missed his girlfriend very much. Okay, Yao please let go of Liang. It's my turn. Tan Kinja also came over at this time, pulled hard, and finally pulled Qin Binjao off, and then hugged her up. Just kidding, I also miss my man very much, okay. When we meet again after a long absence, of course I want to give him a hug. But Tan Kinja had only been hugging her for a minute when Wan Qing's voice sounded from behind her. Ahem, he said he was his apprentice. Didn't he hug him endlessly? Hearing this, Tan Kinja stiffened, and then she reluctantly let go of Suliang and stepped aside. Wan Qing walked up to Suliang with small steps, looked Suliang up and down, and then showed a slight smile. Yes, it seems that you have already got what I want you to get. Suliang nodded and opened his arms. It will fulfill its mission. Wan Qing snorted softly, stepped forward, and threw herself into Suliang's arms. However, she only hugged Suliang for a moment, then stepped back and separated. Her eyes pointed at Ying Kaoj and Qin Wanyu beside her, and her voice was soft. You, too, don't lose sight of one thing or the other. Does this mean we should take turns giving a hug? Suliang shook his head and laughed, but he really couldn't care about one thing and lose the other, so he simply started from Ying Chao Ji and hugged them one by one. Even Jing Meng gave them a light hug. In the end, only Mu Qingqian was left. Senior brother Su. Mu Qingqian stood handsomely in front of Suliang, but her hands were tangled, fiddling with the corners of her clothes, and she was a little hesitant. We haven't seen each other for such a long time, so of course I want to hug senior brother Su. However, since they are unknown and have no status, and Binjao and the others are all here, why are they embarrassed to actually hug senior brother Su? But, I really can't bear it. Just when Mu Qingqian was struggling, Suliang took a step forward and hugged Mu Qingqian tightly. It seems that you and Senior Jingmeng went out to look for opportunities and gained a lot. Suliang subconsciously stroked Mu Qingqian's hair, with a hint of smile in his voice. I have to thank you and Senior Jingmeng for this kind of good thing that has a chance, and it can bring Binjao with it. We are all one and the same family. You're welcome, Senior brother Su. Mu Qingqian spoke softly and softly. After she finished speaking, her face turned red and she didn't dare to raise her head to look at Suliang. She just hugged her tightly with her hands and buried her little head in Suliang's arms. We are all a family. Mu Qingqian felt that this was the boldest thing she had ever said to express her thoughts. After Suliang let go of Mu Qingqian, Qin Binjao came forward again, holding Suliang's arm, pouting, looking aggrieved. Suliang, you must make the decision for others, someone was attacked. After hearing this, Suliang hadn't spoken yet, but Mu Qingqian couldn't help it anymore and spoke. Binjao, are you serious? You don't know how miserable the attackers we encountered before were. At this point, Mu Qingqian sighed a little. This is the first time Qingqian knows that a person can be plunged headfirst into the ground to pull out carrots. After all, he is also a genius. Binjao, you beat him to death. Forget about the pig head. How can you still play like this? What is going on? Hearing this, Suliang finally couldn't help but ask, what kind of attack is this? How terrible is it? Where is this? In this righteous way, are there really people who are so bold as to attack their girlfriends? Are you kidding? Okay. Is the name Smiling Tyrant meant to make fun of you? Come to think of it, this is still my fault. Mu Qingqian turned to look at Suliang, hesitated, and said with some embarrassment, when we were at Wanren Mountain, luck suddenly fell from the sky. After saying this, Suliang understood immediately and couldn't help turning his head to look at Tao Yao Yao. In this case, Mu Qingqian was also chosen by luck. You were also chosen by luck. Suliang got straight to the point and asked straightforwardly. Senior brother Su has a keen eye. Mu Qingqian nodded and rubbed his eyebrows with a headache. Master said that this matter is both an opportunity and a challenge. As for me, I am not worried about anything. No matter who comes to snatch it, I will most likely kill him with one sword. But in the previous incident, I was indeed the one who caused Benjao to suffer. Suliang waved his hand. This kind of thing can't be said to be involving or not. You also said that we are a family and we should help each other. When I came back with Yao Yao, I was also attacked by both good and evil. Dao ambushed me, also to steal luck. Stealing luck. Mu Qingqian was stunned for a moment, then realized what she was doing and covered her mouth. Could it be that the witch Tao Yao Yao is also? Suliang nodded, frowning in thought. Why, did luck choose Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao Yao at the same time? What kind of relationship do the two of them have? Turning around and taking a look at Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao Yao, who had almost exactly the same appearance and figure, and the same set of bells on their wrists and ankles, but with different temperaments, Suliang was already a little certain that the relationship between these two people was definitely extraordinary. But even if their relationship was unusual, the chance of both of them being selected at the same time was very slim. After all, Mu Qingqian was just that, and Tao Yao Yao was not among the top of the demonic princes. Even if they are blessed, the two may not be that deep apart, but together they are almost the same. As soon as he thought of this, something suddenly flashed through Suliang's mind, but the thought was so vague that Suliang couldn't grasp it at all. Shaking his head, Suliang sighed, feeling that there were so many doubts in this matter that he couldn't find any clues. But the only thing that is certain is that this is definitely not a coincidence. It seems, the answer can only be found from another aspect. Thinking in his mind, Suliang began to actively contact the system. I want to start the simulation again, is it possible? This time, the system didn't pretend to be dead, and simply popped up, the Sims, the second simulation is about to begin. After finding a suitable place to sit down, Suliang's eyes were gradually swallowed up by darkness, and he felt an inexplicable feeling in his heart. Regarding the truth between Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao Yao, perhaps this second simulation can reveal everything. In the wilderness of the world, Suliang, the lazy junior brother, looked gentle at the moment, walking slowly in front of him without any hurry or slowness. Next to her, the senior sister Yao Yao, who was described as charming, dressed seductively, and possessed a demonic soul to control her body, followed step by step. Her peach-like eyes were full of amusement, but she had no intention of running away. Hey, where are we going? Yao Yao stepped forward, pulled Suliang and asked curiously. Since you are traveling around the world, just follow your heart. Suliang turned his head and said with a gentle smile, don't worry, with me here, senior sister will never be harmed in the slightest. TCH, who cares about this? Yao Yao rolled her eyes, but she looked even more charming. But this kind of charm had no effect on Suliang. He did have feelings for his senior sister, but what he saw in front of him at this moment was just another soul with the appearance of his senior sister. Even though the demon soul was considered a part of his senior sister, it was indeed not her senior sister. Suliang smiled and said, sister, we'd better leave quickly. It's getting late now. If we can't find a place to stay, we may have to sleep in the wilderness again. Isn't that just right? Yao Yao smiled charmingly, it's fun to sleep in the wilderness. Suliang shook his head and smiled, but said nothing. But at this moment, there was a rustling sound. Suliang stopped, frowned slightly, looked at the nothingness not far to the left, and said in a deep voice, since you are here, just show up and cover it up, why bother? After the words fell, there was still nothing in front of him. Yao Yao walked forward and asked curiously, what did you feel again? Could it be that you sensed it wrong? Immediately, Yao Yao looked Suliang up and down and nodded, seeming to feel that her inference was correct. Well, it's weird for you to be able to fight if you don't even have any cultivation. It's normal to occasionally sense something wrong. But Suliang shook his head and ignored these words. Taoism is natural. Since it exists in the world and stands under the way of heaven, there will naturally be traces. Even the best formations in the world cannot cover up such traces. Others may sense it wrong, but Suliang will definitely not. Meeting. Aren't you going to come out? Suliang murmured to himself, suddenly stretched out his hand and moved forward slightly. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens. Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 362. Tear. There was a sound of being torn apart, and in the direction Suliang was looking, the blank space there was suddenly torn apart like a curtain, revealing its true appearance. That is, countless powerful demons. Haha, I really didn't expect that our sky covering formation would be discovered by a loser like you who has no cultivation at all. What is covering the sky? It's just covering oneself. How can ordinary people try to cover the sky? Suliang shook his head, a trace of boredom flashed in his eyes. You people from the demon sect, you covet senior sister, it's fine if I kill you, but now you bring people to ambush senior sister and me several times. Each time you bring people there are countless of them, but they are all vulnerable, which is really annoying. I'm going on a tour with my senior sister. Senior sister, can you stop disturbing me? Humph, kid, stop talking nonsense and suffer death. The demonic people were laughing and cursing, and suddenly they drew their swords and were about to charge forward. Ignore advice. Suliang sighed, shook his head, and suddenly slowly raised his hand. And as he moved, a huge tornado slowly formed beside him. Go. With a soft groan, Suliang stretched his fingers forward, and the violent hurricane, with incomparable speed and power, rushed towards the demonic people, and in an instant, they were swept in. At this time, even if everyone in the demonic way survived, they would still be seriously injured. Immediately afterwards, Suliang stretched out his finger and suddenly struck the ground. At this moment, the color of the sky and the earth changed, the sun and the moon changed. Along with the deafening roar, a huge, narrow crack appeared in front of everyone, connecting to the horizon, separating the two worlds. This place is drawn as a boundary. From now on, the two realms of good and evil are separated. Anyone who tries to cross the boundary will be killed. As soon as he finished speaking, a bolt of thunder struck down from the clear sky, seeming to acknowledge Suliang's words. Say it and it becomes the law. But then, Suliang picked up Yao Yao, turned around and left. Yao Yao was so shocked that she was almost stupid at this moment. She could isolate the world of good and evil with one finger. With this kind of strength, the demon lord or Taoist leader could really do it. I'm afraid this is no longer a power in the world. Suliang, you. Volume 1 Chapter 342, Heaven is ruthless, but why are you in love with me? Yao Yao said in a daze, really not knowing how she should face this young man who could isolate the power of two places. However, Suliang shook his head and said frankly, it won't last long. It's just a trick to deceive people. Where did I get the ability to block the good and evil? After swallowing what she wanted to say, Yao Yao took a deep look at Suliang. Maybe what he said was true, but even if it was meant to bluff people, it was still shocking enough. Night. A bonfire was burning beside a stream in the forest. A man and a woman were sitting next to the bonfire. The young man always had a gentle smile on his face, and there was a fish that was about to be roasted on a branch in his hand. The woman next to the boy looks young. She is still in her youth, but she has a charming look. Whenever you look at her, you can feel the faint charming smile on her face, which is heartwarming. Sister, it's baked. Suliang handed the grilled fish to Yao Yao who was standing aside. After Yao Yao took it, he reminded him thoughtfully, it's just been grilled and it's still a little hot. Senior sister, be careful. Humph, with my level of cultivation, how can I still be afraid of getting burned? Yao Yao said nonchalantly, looked at the nothing in Suliang's hand, and suddenly pouted her pink lips, a little dissatisfied, What kind of creek is this? I searched for a long time and only found one fish. It's really. Sister, just eat by yourself, I'm not hungry. Suliang shook his head. Yao Yao's pretty face was slightly red, but she couldn't see clearly under the light of the fire. She stammered, who cares about you? I just feel like I can't have enough to eat. Suliang did not refute this, but after Yao Yao had eaten enough, he picked up some more firewood and said to Yao Yao, Senior sister, please rest early. I will keep watch. Yao Yao nodded and lay on the hay that Suliang had laid out for her, but she didn't close her eyes. She just looked at Suliang blinkingly, with indescribable emotions in her eyes. Non-vegetation, ruthless practice makes perfect. Yao Yao is just a demon soul. The so-called demon soul is coquettish, charming, and unscrupulous. She often doesn't care about life and death, but she is not a heartless person. Suliang saved her from the beginning, and then fought off countless demon attacks for her. The two traveled around the world, and Suliang took good care of her, always with a gentle smile. Even if she made a mistake, Suliang would not be angry, but wanted to reason with her, a demon soul. Humph, I am a demon soul, how can I listen to your reasoning? But gradually, the demon soul also developed a love for the boy. Jade hands tightly grasped the boy's coat covering her body, and Yao Yao's voice was rare and gentle, Suliang, what do you think of me? Suliang turned his head, somewhat confused. Oh, you piece of wood. Yao Yao said with some dissatisfaction, look, you like your senior sister, but I share the same body with your senior sister, so there is no difference between you and me. The two of us have been together for such a long time. You should be able to accept me, right? After saying this, Yao Yao's cheeks had a bright blush, but her eyes were brave, looking at Suliang expectantly, waiting for his answer. After a moment of silence, Suliang shook his head with a smile, I'm sorry, I have met my senior sister since I was a child. For so many years, it has been my senior sister who has always taken care of me, tolerated me, and made me responsible for all the rumors and conspiracies, so, I only have feelings for senior sister. I know that you and senior sister have the same body, and you two are even one body, but, what I like is the soul of senior sister, and this has nothing to do with the appearance. You. Yao Yao looked at Suliang blankly, as if she didn't want to accept the result. Isn't it the Taoist soul who met you first? Huh, what she can do, I can do too. Different. Suliang shook his head and directly broke her illusion, do you know the essence of my practice? Seeing Yao Yao shaking her head in shock, Suliang continued, heaven is ruthless, but it only shows mercy to ye. I have chosen my senior sister, and that will not change in this life. Everything is only for her. So, is that so? I really envy you, you are just a soul, but you can actually get his heart. Yao Yao murmured to herself, caressing her cheeks with both hands, her expression filled with sadness, you will definitely take good care of him, right? Forget it, if that's the case, then as you wish, I will return her to you. Yao Yao looked up at Suliang, smiled sadly, and closed her eyes. From this moment on, the demon soul took the initiative to give up control of the body. When he opened his eyes again, the Taoist elder sister returned again. At this moment, Suliang showed a heartfelt smile, let's go, senior sister, let's go home. Go home? Junior brother. Daehun was clear and vague, listening to his junior brother's words, but there was indescribable panic and throbbing in his heart. Qing Qian opened her eyes suddenly, looked down at her intact body, and found it difficult to accept this unexpected result. Junior brother, you didn't kill us. After muttering, Qing Qian looked at Suliang and became anxious. But at this moment, besides being anxious, she was also a little moved. She knew her junior brother very well from taking care of him since childhood. This lazy junior brother of mine has always been quiet and inactive. He has been hiding in his room for many years, unwilling to come out. He seems to be hopelessly lazy, but who could know that he is cultivating the way of heaven and is ruthless and quiet and inactive? But the ruthless junior brother of Xiu Tiandao actually developed feelings for me. How is this possible? At this moment, Qing Qian could no longer care about her own thoughts. She stepped forward and grabbed Suliang's arm. She opened her mouth slightly and wanted to explain the current situation. But at this moment, the situation took a turn for the worse. The demon Qing Qian. An angry shout came, and then, whizzing sounds broke through the air one after another, and many Taoist giants appeared one after another, surrounding Suliang and Qing Qian. Everyone, you have been following and monitoring us, right? Suliang looked at the countless doors around him. He didn't feel nervous. Instead, he said with a smile. Daemon has been monitoring them for a long time. Do you really think that Suliang can't find them? The Taoist giants glanced at Suliang and ignored him. Instead, they all pointed their fingers at Qing Qian. The demon Qing Qian. One person said angrily, and actually started the trial of Qing Qian, directly stating Qing Qian's crime. As a demon sect demon girl, she has been lurking in the Taoist sect for several years, leaking countless secrets of the Taoist sect, and still in the secret realm, she framed fellow Taoist sections countless. Which Qing Qian, your sin is so serious that it is not allowed by heaven. Can you plead guilty? Volume 1 Chapter 343 Heaven and earth cannot tolerate pursuit from thousands of miles away. The way of true love is the unity of heaven and man. Listening to this man's statement of guilt, Qing Qian opened her mouth, not knowing what to say. Plea. It's true that she didn't do it, but she really should plead guilty. But, turning his head to look at Suliang beside him, his clear red lips pursed slightly, not knowing how to face him. But this time, Suliang took a step forward and said with a chuckle, if you want to accuse me, why bother? How can I not know whether senior sister has done these things? Don't waste any more effort. Just tell me what you want to do. Anyway, I won't let you hurt senior sister at all. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Hey, Suliang, are you determined to do this? A sigh came, the sound was ethereal and traceless, echoing continuously in the wilderness forest. Immediately afterwards, a figure appeared in front of Suliang and Qing Qian, with his hands behind his back and a sigh of helplessness on his face. Master. Suliang bowed and said, it's not that I insist on doing this. I'm just following what I think. As long as I'm here, senior sister, no one can do anything. Suliang, don't think too highly of yourself. This girl is the enemy of everyone in the world now. Do you really think you can protect her? The master shook his head and his expression gradually became serious. Suliang, I am very optimistic about you, so I will give you one last chance. Now, execute Qing Qian and come back with me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 363. Impossible. Suliang immediately objected. But the master shook his head and said, don't make a decision in a hurry. Listen to what I have to say first. Do you know what the real purpose of this girl Qing Qian is by always following you? Turning to look at Qing Qian, Suliang shook his head. Oh, look, you are so protective of her, but she has never told you the truth. The master smiled, and his expression returned to seriousness again. From the beginning, the only role of this girl Qing Qian is to help you soar to the top, break the shackles of the sky, and become the first person in Taoism since ancient times. You should know that you carry great expectations and responsibilities from Taoists in the world. This cannot be determined by your own whim. Sul Yang, don't insist on having your own way. Whether it's for the sake of Taoism in the world or for your own future, execute Qing Qian. If her death can create a Taoism supreme like you, she will also be happy. But I didn't expect it. Facing the master's earnest persuasion, Sul Yang still insisted on going his own way, shaking his head and saying, "The expectations and responsibilities of Taoists in the world, hey, what does this have to do with me? What does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with killing one's emotions and soaring, breaking the shackles of heaven? Even though senior sister has lied to me, this love is not false. This is enough. Without a way forward for senior sister, what's the point? This is not the path to immortality I pursue." After saying that, Sul Yang took a step sideways, resolutely stood in front of Qing Qian, and said loudly, "Today, the Taoist sect wants to force Su to kill senior sister to prove the Tao, but Su is unwilling, so Sul Yang breaks up with the Taoist sect." Sul Yang. As soon as these words came out, bursts of angry curses came from all the sects. All of them seemed to be extremely angry at Sul Yang's choice. You idiot. Even the master couldn't help it, pointed at Sul Yang and cursed. This is the Taoist sect's eternal expectation. Countless years of hard planning and countless investments have now turned into ashes. How can they endure this? People who are not determined will almost collapse on the spot. But at this moment, someone suppressed his anger and said, "Humph, since Sul Yang is trapped by love and cannot aspire to the great road, he has also lost his value. Why do we need to discuss with him like this again? It's better to let him play his final role, sacrifice him directly, seek blessings from heaven, and then open the gate of heaven." As soon as this was said, responders gathered and all cheered loudly. Although this is different from their plan, since they can make up for their efforts, they have to do it no matter how cruel it is. Base. There was a sound of swords being unsheathed, and all the Taoist giants drew their blades, wanting to capture Sul Yang on the spot and sacrifice them to heaven. Not only that, the shadowy figures appeared again, blending into the giants of the Taoist section. Looking at them, they turned out to be people from the demonic sect with so much demonic aura. At this moment, for Sul Yang alone, good and evil actually joined forces. However, how could Sul Yang be someone who was easily captured? "Sister, let's go." Turning around and saying with a smile, Sul Yang took Qing Qian's hand, tapped his toes on the ground, and floated away. With just a wave of his hand, he knocked over a group of good and evil people blocking the way, and broke through. Looking at the two people leaving, the good and evil people gathered together, all with pale faces. "What should we do? Catch up and kill them. If you can't catch them for a moment, chase them for a moment. If you can't catch them for a day, chase them for a whole day. You can't let them run away." Humph, what a natural way, what a peerless genius, but he is trapped by love, he is really stupid. The discussion lasted until dawn. Early the next morning, almost all the good and evil forces were dispatched to hunt down Sul Yang and Qing Qian. Under the siege of evil spirits, this is truly intolerable. A truly huge situation is slowly unfolding at this moment. From the beginning, Qing Qian was approached and took care of Sul Yang, which gradually deepened the relationship between the two. Later, Qing Qian was sent to participate in some secret realm, taking the opportunity to draw out the demon soul in her body and attract Sul Yang to appear. All the actions of the good and the evil are all to enable Sul Yang to prove his true love and ascend to the heavenly gate. But no matter what, Sul Yang was stubborn and obsessed with love. This was something that these two sects of good and evil did not expect. I think that the way of heaven is ruthless, and I have practiced Taoism for countless years. In order to realize the Tao, there is nothing that masters, disciples, and Taoists cannot do. As time goes by, I naturally think that others will think the same way. Who would have thought that Sul Yang, a so-called cultivator of heaven, could still be obsessed with love? In the eyes of good and evil people, this is the most impossible and ridiculous thing. Then, the good and the evil had no choice but to choose the alternate route and sacrifice him, which would open the gate of heaven. After thousands of miles of pursuit, millions of corpses were found. Sul Yang did not know how many people he killed as he fled all the way. Sul Yang. Another sound of shouting and killing came. Sul Yang looked back and saw several high-level officials from the top sects of good and evil families, joining forces to kill him. Roll. With a deep voice, Sul Yang picked up a sword on the ground and slashed it out with a bright sword light, forcing several people back in an instant. Immediately, Sul Yang actually took the initiative and fought with those people. After spending a lot of time, he killed them all. No way. Even though Sul Yang has the power to reach the sky, he is still no match for the world. In this continuous pursuit, his body has gradually become tired. It is already difficult to kill a few more high-level officials. As for why it was the senior members of the family sect who took action? Those low-level disciples, the so-called geniuses who were pretentious, had been almost killed by Sul Yang a long time ago. Call. Throwing the sword aside, Sul Yang breathed for a moment and showed a gentle smile to Qing Qian, "Senior sister, let's go. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, no one will hurt senior sister." But Qing Qian hesitated for a moment and then said in confusion, "Junior brother, I was the one who deceived you from the beginning to the end. I was the one who conspired with them. You protected me so much that you even broke with the world for me. It's not worth it?" "Worth it?" Sul Yang spoke softly, interrupted Qing Qian, turned to look at her with firm eyes, "Senior sister, everything is worth it?" Qing Qian shook her head, with a sad and guilty look on her face, "Junior brother, you should listen to them, follow what they say, attain enlightenment, ascend, and break the heavenly gate, otherwise, they will not give up. Even if my junior brother has mastered the profound knowledge, how long can he take me with him? What's more, all the things I did for my junior brother were just tasks and not much true love. In any case, I deceived my junior brother. Because of me, my junior brother's future was cut off and he had to bear the sacrifice of others. Destiny, I. At this point, Qing Qian choked up a little, and for a moment, she was speechless. However, listening to Qing Qian's words, Sul Yang was extremely calm, with a gentle smile on his face, as if he didn't care at all about what Qing Qian said. "Sister, do you know that since I was born, my master has carried me to the mountain gate? I have never experienced many family feelings, and I have no so-called family." Sul Yang's eyes were gentle and his expression was calm, "But senior sister is the only one who takes care of me and protects me. Therefore, since I was born, I, Sul Yang, have only senior sister as my relative. Whether it's use or calculation, even if it's not true love, it doesn't matter to me. The important thing is, senior sister, you are always with me, even now, you have not left. This is enough." "Enough." Sul Yang murmured, took Qing Qian's hand, flew up, with some expectation and joy in his mouth, and said loudly, "Senior sister, let's go, I will take you to a place. Mingfeng Mountain." Sul Yang flew to the top of the mountain with Qing Qian and landed here. "Look, senior sister, this is where you and I first met and got acquainted." Standing on the top of the mountain, Sul Yang looked at the vast scenery below with Qing Qian. In the distance, the line between heaven and earth, overlooking the bottom, was full of small scenery. The gentle breeze passed by, which made people feel relaxed and refreshed, as if they took in both heaven and earth. In my heart, vaguely, both of them were intoxicated by this, and they actually seem to have some enlightenment. You actually remember things from so long ago. Qing Qian said softly, looking at the familiar scenery, as if the scene of that day was reappearing in front of her eyes, making her feel a relaxed and comfortable feeling, as if she had forgotten all her worries. How can we forget things related to senior sister? Suliang said with a smile. With relaxed and joyful smiles on their faces, the two looked at each other as if they were back in the past. However, on the top of the mountain, the scenery is still the same, the old friends are still the same, but the rest has long been subverted into something unknown. At the same time, at the foot of Mingfeng Mountain, a group of people from the good and evil sects came here following the traces of Suliang and Qing Qian. Countless strong men of both good and evil paths surrounded Mingfeng Mountain. Bit by bit, inch by inch, they searched for traces of Suliang and Qing Qian. They didn't even miss a tree hole, which was quite disturbing. Looking at it like this, even for Suliang, it was a life or death situation. On the top of the mountain, Suliang and Qing Qian sat on the cliff, holding hands tightly, looking at the distant eyes rising up, shining on the world. Suliang let out a long breath, as if all the fatigue in his body had been swept away, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. And became more relaxed. It's my wish to bring my senior sister back here. Suliang said softly before standing up. Next, it's time to settle this matter. But before he could stand up, he felt Qing Qian holding his hand and clenching it suddenly. Raising his head and looking at Qing Qian's pretending to be calm, Suliang patted Qing Qian's hand and said with a smile, "Sister, don't worry, it's okay. I said, as long as I'm here, no one can touch senior sister. Say it." Suliang broke away from Qing Qian's hand and turned around. Just right. Now. There was a sound of clattering footsteps, and the two giants, good and evil, all appeared on the stage and came to Suliang. So many people are here just for me. You think highly of me. Seeing the siege of thousands of people in front of him, Suliang shook his head and laughed, as if he had never cared about chasing him thousands of miles away and laying down millions of corpses. Naturally, no one from the good or evil paths responded to Suliang's words. Suliang's master stood up again and said in a deep voice, "Suliang, I will give you another chance. Now, you turn around and kill Qing Qian, attain enlightenment, ascend, and break through the heavenly gate. Let's all ignore this matter happened before. Otherwise, we will have no choice but to sacrifice you. Today, both good and evil masters are here. You are the only one. Even if you are the strongest person in the world, there is absolutely no chance of survival. You have to think carefully. Oh, you are so generous and you still give me a chance to choose. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator." Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 364. Suliang raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Qing Qian's face. He was speechless for a long time, as if he wanted to remember this face in his heart forever. After a while, Suliang turned his head, with a gentle smile on his face and a little more determination at the same time. "Thank you for your kindness, but, what I can give you is the same answer. It may be useful to achieve enlightenment by killing emotions and ascending, but that is not my way." "Suliang, are you really looking for death?" The master pointed at Suliang and scolded, "Just for a mere woman, are you going to abandon the expectations of thousands of immortal cultivators in the world, abandon your immediate future, and even abandon your own life? If there is no senior sister, what's the use of having all this?" Suliang shook his head and said softly, "It is said that the way of heaven is ruthless, but since humans cultivate the way of heaven, how can it be really ruthless? Since the way of heaven encompasses all things in the world, the way of sentient beings is naturally included in it. If so, how can the way of heaven be truly ruthless?" So, I meditated for many days and finally found the second path. This road is called Heaven's Love. The words fell. The sky and the earth suddenly changed color. The sky was originally clear, but at this moment, it was suddenly covered with clouds. It was almost impossible to see even one's fingers, as if one was trapped in an eternal night. Volume 1 # Chapter 344 Good and Evil Surrender, The Rupture of Self. At the same time, a ray of light fell from the sky and fell on Suliang. In an instant, Suliang's aura became ethereal and hard to find. It seemed to be nowhere to be found, but it seemed to be visible everywhere, as if it had merged with the world and was no longer distinguishable from each other. This is the pinnacle gesture of the sentient nature of heaven and the nature of Tao. Heaven and man are one, and one with heaven and earth. From now on, I am this world, and fighting with me is fighting with this world. At this moment, the strength that Suliang can exert has already far exceeded the limit that can appear in this world. Opening his slightly closed eyes, facing the siege of the most powerful force in the world, Suliang showed an indifferent smile. Everyone, I still say that as long as I am here, I will never let you get hurt. Half a point to senior sister. So, if you still have such thoughts, please take action. Looking at each other, they didn't know who was the one who started the attack first. They just heard an angry curse, and then, all the giants of good and evil took action, bombarding Suliang with various means. The final battle that shocked the world broke out. The two top masters of good and evil gathered together and took action together, with a momentum like the earth was shattering. In an instant, moves with destructive meanings were flying all over the sky, covering the sky and the sun, and there was no one in the world who could resist them. But among them, Suliang is definitely not included. Suliang just waved his hand gently and said calmly, "Let's go." The words fell. The true spiritual energy that constituted these moves that could destroy space and destroy the heaven and the earth was dispersed in a rush, dissipating between the heaven and the earth, never to be found again. Heaven and man are one, and one with heaven and earth. This so-called true energy naturally exists in heaven and earth. Suliang naturally has a way to master it. See this. All the two top experts, good and evil, were shocked and their eyes widened, and they couldn't believe it. Just one word can dissipate the spiritual energy of this place. What kind of cultivation level can do this? Could this young man have really cultivated the way of heaven? There were still people who didn't believe it. After hesitating for a moment, they raised their swords again to attack Suliang. As soon as they turned their hands, the sword roared and cut through the space. In an instant, they arrived in front of Suliang. The sword energy almost weakened the mountain peak. However, facing the killing blow of the sword, Suliang just stretched out his hand and tapped it gently in front of him. Immediately, the sword light can no longer move forward. "Let's go back," Suliang said lightly. With a flick of his finger, the sword light whizzed away. It actually rushed back with more powerful force than when it came, and in an instant, killed the person who slashed out the sword light. Even the people around him were not spared. And since then, the good and evil people attacked several times in succession, but in the blink of an eye, they were killed by Suliang countless times. Looking at the ruins and broken walls all over the ground, with corpses strewn all over the field, no one of the remaining people dared to take action again. Suliang, truly unrivaled. Looking at the hesitant people, Suliang chuckled twice, but suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed it forward. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw two huge and ferocious golden dragons of luck appearing in Suliang's hands. The good and the evil have been chasing me to this point, and they even tried to harm senior sister. Today, I will cut off your good and evil destiny for 100 years. The words fell. Suliang used his hand as a knife, pointed it at the two golden dragons, and slashed lightly. Roar. The golden dragon let out a pitiful roar, but was cut in half by Suliang, turning into spots of light all over the sky and scattered in all directions. At least within 100 years, these two golden dragons will no longer be able to unite. Suliang, you. The rest of the people looked at Suliang angrily, but they dared not speak out. Everyone was afraid. Suliang pointed out again and killed them too. But right now, the dark clouds in the sky that were originally scattered suddenly gathered together again. And this time, the dark clouds that were as black as ink and covered the sky actually exuded the meaning of destruction. Amidst the rolling thunder, the black thunder of death, like nothingness, condensed and rolled in it, as if it was about to strike down at any time. Looking up at the sky, Suliang instantly understood the true meaning of the black thunder. This is a heavenly existence, and Suliang is not allowed to disobey the plan given by it. Therefore, it is necessary to send down the world-destroying black thunder to kill Suliang here. However, want to kill me? It's too late. Suliang looked up at the sky, his voice was very soft, and he smiled happily. Turning his head to look at the stunned senior sister at the side, Suliang suddenly stretched out his hand and attracted all the swords around him. Immediately afterwards, in Qing Qian's confused eyes, Suliang waved gently, and countless swords passed through his body, cutting off Suliang's life in an instant. Junior brother. Qing Qian screamed Suliang's name, staggered up, and came to Suliang in a few steps. Looking at the swords all over Suliang's body, her eyes were red, tears fell, and her body was trembling. Junior brother, what are you doing? Qing Qian said tremblingly, feeling as if there was an empty space in her chest. Sister, why should you cry for me? It's just a lie. Suliang smiled gently, this is the last thing I can do for my senior sister. The words fell. A powerful aura suddenly erupted from Suliang's body, instantly knocking Qing Qian away. I would like to be reincarnated and practice for another 300 years, so that my senior sister can fly on a crane and ascend. Suliang spoke softly, and his soul rose from above his head and flew into reincarnation in an instant, while his body, like flying ashes, cracked and disappeared inch by inch. Immediately, then a pure aura descended on Qing Qian, allowing Qing Qian to instantly break through the limitations of this world. The red-crowned white crane descended from the sky, crowed in the sky, lay down in front of Qing Qian, and motioned for Qing Qian to sit up. Looking at this scene, everyone's faces were distorted with either envy or jealousy. They may have forgotten that since Suliang's cultivation level can make a sacrifice to break open the heavenly gate, it is naturally more than enough to send people to ascend. But I didn't expect that this little girl Qing Qian would actually get this opportunity. Hateful. However, they did not expect that Qing Qian, who had the opportunity to ascend, was unwilling to do this. Placing her palms on Baihe, Qing Qian recalled the scenes with Suliang in her mind, with a gentle smile on her face and tears falling down. It is said that everything is a conspiracy and everything is a deception, but after so many years of getting along and so many heartbeats, how could it be possible that there is no affection? If I didn't fall in love with you, how could I be willing to be killed for the sake of your future? Junior brother, I'm sorry. In this life, it is senior sister who owes you. I just hope that we can repay each other in the next life. Full of guilt in her heart, feeling her emotional heart, Qing Qian firmly remembered this feeling, and then she abandoned her cultivation and cut off her heart. I only wish to follow my junior brother in reincarnation. But just before entering reincarnation, a demon soul that was exactly the same as Qing Qian and exuded a coquettish and charming aura separated from her body and looked at Qing Qian angrily. Volume 1 Chapter 345 I will just watch you steal my man quietly. He loves you so much, but you treat him like this. Qing Qian, you don't deserve it, you don't deserve to enjoy his love. You deceived him and lied to him, but in the end you still made him give everything for you. He doesn't care about this, but I do. As he spoke, Ma Han Yao Yao lightly drew his hand in front of him, and a mark appeared between the two of them. From this moment on, I break up with you, but since you are me, I will also break up with myself. From now on, you are you and I am me. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Say it. Yao Yao jumped up and entered reincarnation without any regrets. The darkness gradually receded from his eyes. Suliang opened his eyes and subconsciously rubbed his eyebrows. Recalling everything he had experienced in The Sims before, Suliang sighed. He really didn't expect that this time The Sims would be so complicated. In the previous life, she was a chess piece for the world, one body with two souls. The meaning of her existence was just for you to be able to prove the Tao through love. For you, the Tao is natural, and the way of heaven is sentient. When you and she have feelings for each other, it's natural for her to kill all the chess players in the world just for her safety. But what you did was not allowed by the existence in the sky. In the face of the world-destroying black thunder, you were defeated like reincarnation. It was her who rode a crane to fly up, but she fell in love with you. She is willing to reincarnate together and repay you in the next life. Since then, the two souls of Tao and Demon have been separated. The young man who practices Taoism naturally and the senior sister who ascended on a crane are missing in the world, but there is him, her, and her. This simulation is completed. Congratulations to the host, you have received the reward, the complete version of Deifa Nature. The sound of the system fell, and a glimmer of light rose up from Suliang's body. In this glimmer, there seemed to be thousands of great laws running within it. One glance at it was dazzling, but it also benefited a lot. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 365. Just for a moment. Suliang could feel that the laws of spiritual energy between heaven and earth were closer to him countless times. It seemed that with every move, he could induce changes in the laws and exert great power. It can be said. It's just that this Dao method is natural, even if it has just been obtained. Suliang's strength has been improved dozens or hundreds of times compared to before. Now Suliang is really transcendent and invincible with me. Even if the top genius like Motzi is promoted to the peak of immortality, he will never be Suliang's opponent. The vision surrounding Suliang gradually dissipated. Suliang gathered his mind, temporarily put aside his understanding of the nature of Taoism, and instead focused all his energy on his previous simulated life. This period of the Sim's life has come to an end. Although the various doubts that have troubled Suliang before have not been directly answered, Suliang has already figured them out. Vaguely, Suliang had already guessed the reason for this two-person simulation. Why did the same simulation involve Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao Yao? These two people must be the same person in the previous life, right? On the eve of reincarnation, when the Dao soul and demon soul separate the two people, they can naturally be regarded as two different individual soul bodies and reincarnate into two complete people. This is why Tao Yao Yao and Mu Qingqian imagine that one is on the right path and the other on the devil's path. So, wouldn't everything in The Sims be true? Thinking of the young man from 300 years ago who arbitrarily determined the fate of good and evil in the Kingdi cave, he had the same experience as Suliang's simulated life. It seems that the existence of this painting also supports Suliang's guess and confirms that the experiences in the simulated life are real. But, since these are all true, why have I never heard of them? It's not that Suliang is arrogant. With his strength now comparable to that of many senior members of the Shang sect, he is already considered a high-level person among the two realms of good and evil. How can he deal with such a thing that once affected the entire two realms of good and evil? Have no idea? Then, what follows is another layer of mysteries that cannot be answered at all. Suliang, who thought hard for a long time but didn't get an answer, still had no intention of asking the system. Suliang knows his own dog system very well. It has benefits. When it comes to hunting down thieves, the system is more active than anyone else. But once he has doubts, the system just dives in and pretends to be dead. You can't count on it at all, okay. Just when Suliang was slandering the system suddenly said, the thief Cao makes a choice. Let the host choose and talk to her in front of her. Hearing this, Suliang was stunned for a moment. Sticking with one person in front of another person? What on earth are you thinking, you stupid system? Isn't this mission a bit too perverted? That's all. In The Sims, those two people are one entity. How can I do this? But no matter how much Suliang resisted, the dog system just dived and pretended to be dead, and there was no movement at all. This made Suliang feel very headache. At the same time, Mu Qingqian and Tao Yaoyao also woke up one after another. Sitting up from the bed, the aloof, cold and arrogant look on Mu Qingqian's face that was so indifferent to emotion could no longer be found. At this moment, she was sitting on a chair beside her, biting her red lips with her teeth, her face full of smiles. It's all guilt and sadness. So, is that so? No wonder, senior brother Su always says that he and Tao Yaoyao are so similar and have an unusual relationship. It turns out that we were so related in our previous life, one body and two souls. This kind of relationship is indeed extraordinary. No wonder I can't be indifferent to senior brother Su. I like him so much, and I resist Tao Yaoyao's approach to senior brother Su. It turns out that in my previous life, I had such a relationship with senior brother Su. Really? Senior brother Su in his previous life trusted me so much and liked me, but I lied to him for who knows how many years, deceived him for a long time, and finally pushed him to that ending. It's me, I'm sorry to senior brother Su. Fortunately, I can meet senior brother Su again in this life. This is the best. Thinking about it, Mu Qingqian was filled with guilt for Suliang. I'm sorry, senior brother Su, I failed you in my previous life, but in this life, I will never do such a thing again. And the other side. Tao Yaoyao also sat up from the bed and sat on the chair beside her with her legs crossed, her heart filled with surprise. So that's it? So, in my previous life, that violent woman Mu Qingqian and I were one and the same soul? Brother Suliang in the previous life has always been in love with her, has always protected her, and is always good for her. In order to fulfill her and brother Suliang, I have already voluntarily given up my body, but she made brother Suliang become like this. Son. Break. Good break. Whoever dares to hurt brother Suliang like this again, I will fight to the death with her, okay. The breakup in the previous life was really too easy for her. No wonder she and I have always been unhappy with each other. It turns out the root cause is here. To be honest, Dao Ao felt that if she had recalled these memories before meeting Mu Qingqian, she might have started fighting with Mu Qingqian when they met. At this moment. Bang bang. There was a knock on the door, and Tao Yaoyao was stunned. Before she could speak, she saw Mu Qingqian open the door, walk in, and looked up at her. The moment the two looked at each other, the atmosphere in the entire room seemed to freeze. At this moment, both of them saw many complex emotions surging in each other's eyes. You came. Tao Yaoyao said subconsciously, but in her heart, she felt a little awkward. Well, I'm here to apologize to you. Mu Qingqian nodded and said with a little guilt on his face. Apologize? Why? Tao Yaoyao didn't bother to look at Mu Qingqian at all. With the memory of her previous life in the dream, she now felt a little displeased with Mu Qingqian. You know the reason. Mu Qingqian said softly. Hearing this, Tao Yaoyao smiled coldly. Yes, I do know the reason, but you should also understand that the person you should apologize to is not me. So, I don't accept your apology, and I have no reason to accept it. After finishing her words, Tao Yaoyao turned her head away, not appreciating it at all. I was so relieved to hand you over to him, but in the end, what did you do? How can I forgive you? Seeing Tao Yao's straightforward refusal, Mu Qingqian's expression became even more depressed. Bai Te bit her red lips tightly, leaving deep marks. Mu Qing took a deep breath and said sincerely, Tao Yao, where is he? I naturally know what to do. It's not like he will blame me, but I have to do it. Yes, it's not as simple as just apologizing. Now, I just feel sorry for you, so I want to apologize to you. As long as you can accept it, I will do whatever you ask for. Hearing this, Tao Yao's eyes lit up and she asked, are you really willing to do whatever is asked of you? After hearing this and looking at Tao Yao's appearance, Mu Qingqian hesitated for a moment, subconsciously feeling that Tao Yao might trick him. But then I thought about it, now I seemed to be apologizing to Tao Yao, a witch, so it seemed normal for her to trick me, and I should suffer the same. As long as it doesn't touch your bottom line, you can just accept it. If you can't control it this time, you can show your sincerity. As for the bottom line, such as Senior Brother Su, and Senior Brother Su. Thinking in his mind, Mu Qingqian nodded and said, exactly, no matter what you ask for, I can do it. Since you said that, I won't be polite to you. Tao Yao stood up and looked at Mu Qingqian face to face, with an unpredictable smile on her face. My request is very simple, of course, to steal your sweetheart. As soon as these words came out, Mu Qingqian immediately exploded. She frowned and asked, Tao Yao, what do you mean? What can I mean? Tao Yao spread her hands, you treat him like this, how can you still deserve to stay by his side? Then, the conversation changed again, and, only stealing your sweetheart is the greatest revenge on you, isn't it? You dare. Mu Qingqian was like a kitten with fried fur protecting its food, staring angrily at Tao Yao and baring his teeth. What am I afraid of? Looking at Mu Qingqian with a smile, the angrier Mu Qingqian gets, the happier Tao Yao feels. It would be great if she could directly make this woman Mu Qingqian angry to death. He's not yours. Why, as long as you are passionate about him, don't you allow others to be passionate about him too? You, don't even think about it. Mu Qingqian was so angry at Tao Yao that she couldn't speak. She just stared and shouted, then walked away, humph, as expected, I want to apologize to you and make peace with you. Mu Qingqian, you are really blind. Sure enough, I still can't tolerate you like this. Each other. Tao Yao sat back down again, looking like she was too lazy to talk to Mu Qingqian, go away, I won't send you off. Then. Just under these few words, the relationship between Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao, who were incompatible with each other, broke down again. But both women have their eyes on Suliang. In the pavilion in the inner courtyard, the weather was a little gloomy that day, and there was light rain falling. Suliang moved under the pavilion, watched the rain falling, sipped tea and read a book. At this moment, Mu Qingqian came over, ignoring the rain on his body, and quickly came to Suliang's side. His voice was quite soft, Senior Brother Su, I finally found you. Hearing the sound, Suliang turned his head and looked over, almost spitting out the tea in his mouth. I saw. At this moment, Mu Qingqian was still wearing her bright yellow palace skirt, but due to the rain, the palace skirt clung tightly to her exquisite body. Whether it's the round breasts, the flat belly, or the small and delicate figure behind her, they are all clearly visible and clear-cut. That's not all. Normally nothing could be seen, but now that Mu Qingqian's body was wet, her clothes had a half-covered smell. Through the translucency of the clothes, Suliang could see the soft skin of Xiangshuang Saixiu. Even on the breast, you can see the blurry outline of the peach blossom. Mu Qingqian, who had always been aloof and arrogant in the past, showed such a side in front of him. This contrast really made Suliang a little surprised and unaccustomed to it. But to be honest, it looks good, it does look good. Senior brother Su. Calling Suliang softly, a gentle smile appeared on Mu Qingqian's face. She took small steps and sat next to Suliang. Her slender figure squeezed into the same chair as Suliang, as if they were in harmony. Complimentary. Ahem, junior sister Mu is looking for me, is there something wrong? Suliang subconsciously wanted to stand up and joke. At this moment, Mu Qingqian was wet. Through her soaked clothes, her smooth skin, which was as smooth as ice and jade bones, could be clearly felt. Okay. With such a charming and beautiful girl squeezed into the same chair as him, Suliang felt that he couldn't trust his own strength too much now. But before he could stand up, Mu Qingqian put his hands on Suliang's shoulders and pushed him back without leaving a trace. It's okay, I just miss senior brother Su and wanted to come and see him. Mu Qingqian's gentle and smiling face showed a hint of blush. For her, saying such words was already an obvious expression of her feelings. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 366. Even Suliang had a strange look on his face when he heard this. But before he could speak, another voice sounded very similar to Mu Qingqian's, but with a more charming and lively voice. Brother Suliang, I've been looking for you for a long time, so you are here. Immediately afterwards. On the second day of National Day, come and count more votes. Volume 1 # Chapter 346, Sisters fighting within Shuro Field, the main palace is right in front of them. Tao Yaoyao also walked in from the pavilion. First she gave Mu Qingqian, who was crowded with Suliang, a provocative look, and then she sat directly in Suliang's arms. At this time, Suliang really couldn't stand it anymore. It's really because Tao Yaoyao is so awesome. Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian were both soaked, but Tao Yaoyao's clothes were much bolder. It was light and thin gauze, and normally you couldn't see anything, but now when she was soaked, you could see what was inside. Every detail is revealed. Not only the breasts, but also all the way down, the flat belly and the unopened peach blossoms can be clearly seen. Especially Tao Yaoyao Shue's tender skin, with the unique friction feeling of gauze clothes, when it rubs against Suliang's body, the feeling is simply indescribable and wonderful. Kicking and kicking, Tao Yaoyao kicked off the shoes on her little feet, revealing her cute feet. Her round toes moved flexibly and climbed up Suliang's legs. Brother Suliang, I'm so afraid of rain and thunder. Can you sleep with me? Tao Yaoyao pouted and said to Suliang. This cute look made people want to give her the whole world. However, Mu Qingqian couldn't bear to see the scene at all, and raised the Shuro Field directly, saying in a cold voice, get out of here, you dare to ask senior brother Su to sleep with you, are you still shameless? Moreover, how dare you sit in senior brother Su's arms? I was here first, and this position should be mine. Oh, this kind of thing doesn't happen on a first come, first served basis. Tao Yaoyao smiled sweetly, brother Suliang just likes her. What can you do? Moreover, Mu Qingqian, a righteous goddess, how can you also play the trick of demonic charm? And you only look similar but have nothing to do with it. They look so similar, so you have the nerve to show them off. Without saying a word, your temper suddenly aroused, and the two of you were about to have a duel. But this time, Qin Benjao appeared quietly next to the three of them, holding her arms and looking at the fight between the three of them with a harmless smile on her face. I will just watch you steal my man quietly. The moment Qin Benjao appeared, Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian both froze. It's over, in front of the palace, snatching someone else's man. This is a bit embarrassing. After waiting for several days, the conflict that was supposed to come sooner or later finally arrived. This day. Crash. A series of rapid footsteps sounded, and Suliang and others in the mansion immediately sensed that countless powerful auras had gathered outside the mansion and surrounded the mansion. Is this an enemy invasion? Suliang understood immediately, but then he breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, our mansion is not in a busy city. Otherwise, it would be bad if a fight breaks out later and innocent people are affected. Wan Qing and others on the side nodded, but then Tao Yaoyao asked, who are the people surrounding us outside? Why do we feel that they have the aura of the righteous and demonic path? But before she finished speaking, she had already realized something. Now that the luck holders of both good and evil paths are here, and there are both good and evil spirits gathering outside, who else could those people be? They are clearly the two geniuses, good and evil, who are here to steal their luck. Sure enough, the next moment, Wan Qing's words confirmed everyone's guess. He is the genius of both good and evil. Looking at the number of people, it seems that most of the geniuses from both good and evil circles have gathered together. Suliang shook his head and smiled. Tisk, tisk, sending out so many people at once seems to be a sure win. Do they really think highly of us? Brother Suliang, what should we do? Tao Yaoyao immediately came to Suliang, hugged Suliang's arm, swayed left and right, and asked coquettishly. Before Suliang could reply, Mu Qingqian said calmly, this is our own business, why are we embarrassed to trouble senior brother Su again? Dao Yao, if you think you are qualified to stay by his side, then go out with me to meet the enemy. Just go. Tao Yaoyao immediately walked up to Mu Qingqian with small steps. Humph, you think I don't dare, let's go now. With that said, he took Mu Qingqian's hand and walked out of the mansion. But at this time, Suliang stepped in between the two of them and blocked them. Okay, let's go and see together. Looking at the two people on his left and right, Suliang said with a smile, I have already said that we are a family. How could I not care about you two when you are in such a dangerous situation? You two, you'd better save some energy first, maybe it will come in handy. Say it. Suliang put his hands behind his back and walked out with long strides. Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian looked at each other, glared hard at each other, and hurried after them. Outside the mansion. At this moment, two geniuses, good and evil, gathered together, each with a majestic aura, holding a blade in their hand, ready to take action at any time. At this moment. Squeak. The door of the mansion was opened. Suliang walked out of it, looked around, and raised his eyebrows. Wow, so many people have come, you are in vain to call yourself a genius, you can actually get together and steal the luck of two people. Thing. Luck is something that belongs to those who are capable. The rules for robbing luck have been in place since before. This is a method allowed by the rules. Why are you talking so much? Someone immediately refuted Suliang. Listening to the source of the voice, it seemed that he was on the right path. The words he spoke were high-sounding, but they could not conceal the greed in his heart and the desire to kill people and seize treasures. Without fussing with that person, Suliang then said, you have a lot of luck. There are only 2 copies. There are so many of you. Even if you grab it, you don't know how to divide it, right? You don't have to worry about it. Someone added, we, good and evil people, have already agreed that we will only take half of the luck that belongs to each of us. How could we reach a consensus so quickly? Suliang raised his eyebrows again. It seemed that these people were well prepared. At this time, someone shouted loudly, Suliang, we know who you are, but luck is not in your hands after all, and we have no intention of being invincible. This is none of your business, so get out of here and don't stop us anymore, we're gone. Otherwise, our men will never show mercy. Hearing this, Suliang laughed unconsciously. You are blocking the door of my house and trying to touch my people. Why don't you allow me to control it? The words fell. Suliang's eyes suddenly became sharp. He looked at the two prodigies of good and evil who were surrounding him, and said in a deep voice, as long as I'm here, you can't even think of hurting Qing Qian and Yao Yao. If you have the courage, just come up and give it a try. As soon as these words came out, the two geniuses, good and evil, were not affected, but Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao Yao were touched. Vaguely. The figure of the young man who stood in front of the world's strong men on Mingfeng Mountain and said that he would never let you hurt his senior sister gradually became closer to Suliang at this moment, and they were no longer distinguishable from each other. Once, you stood in front of me and blocked all dangers for me, but now, you are still standing in front of me. Pursing their red lips, Tao Yao Yao and Mu Qingqian tightened their sword hands at the same time. Being provoked by Suliang's words, the two geniuses, good and evil, looked at each other with a trace of anger on their faces. Humph, no matter how powerful he is just one person. With so many of us joining forces, are we still afraid that we won't be able to defeat him? Someone shouted in the crowd, everyone, for the sake of our luck, no matter what, we have to capture Suliang and take action together, lest he do anything. The words fell. That man was the first to take action, slashing towards Suliang with a flash of sword light. And this sword light was like some kind of switch. In just an instant, it attracted a group of good and evil geniuses to take action at the same time. In an instant, the sky was filled with sword lights and sword shadows flashing, and countless attacks were bombarded towards Suliang, making people's scalp numb. However, faced with such a fierce bombardment and a means of blocking out the sky and the sun, Suliang just smiled faintly and slowly drew out his sword. Next moment, the sword energy in the sky was generated from behind Suliang, and the sword intent soared into the sky, as if it was going to split the sky and the sky. Next moment, the sword energy sprang spontaneously, and the sword energy that covered the sky and the sun instantly neutralized all the attacks. Immediately afterwards, Suliang flew up. As the sword light flashed, several people were chopped to the ground. Even if they were still alive, they were killed for a moment and a half. Moment, but couldn't move at all. Immediately, Suliang was like a wolf among sheep. His cultivation as high as the 5th level of immortality gave him invincible strength. These mere prodigies were no match for him. Just a moment. A group of talented people who were arrogant before were actually lying on the ground in a mess, groaning in pain, but they did not have the strength to stand up again. On the other hand, Suliang. The white clothes are better than the snow, not stained by the dust. He slowly put away the sword, and Suliang returned to Tao Yao Yao and Mu Qingqian, without even the slightest intention of breathing and tired. Using his own strength to dominate the entire field and fight against the world's most talented people, it's not even a warm-up. Today, Suliang is proud of both the good and the evil with his own strength. No matter which one of the two geniuses, good and evil, looked at Suliang at this moment, they had only one thought in their eyes. The number one prodigy of our time, Suliang, is well deserved. This kind of strength is probably incomparable to even the demon sun and the holy sun. But then, everyone's attention was focused on Tao Yao Yao and Mu Qingqian. What happens next depends entirely on these two people. The fates will eventually gather together and become one, which means that there will definitely be a battle between the two of you. Suliang turned around and looked at Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao Yao, who were looking at each other, and felt a little funny. These two girls fight every day and never get along peacefully, but now, they are really going to have a serious fight. Break with yourself? This break is too thorough, isn't it? At the same time, Mu Qingqian and Tao Yao Yao also looked at each other, and for a moment, they didn't know what to do. Volume 1 #Chapter 347, Luck Backfires, The Empress turns dark. Although the two of them did fight all the time, but, it was different from this life and death battle now. If you want to get luck, you must go all out. If you are not careful, you may really lose one of them. No matter how they view each other in their hearts, if they really want to fight to the death. Looking at each other calmly, the two of them saw thoughts similar to their own in each other's eyes. Is this fate? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 367. I will not interfere in your fight. Everything depends on you two. Su Yang took a step back to give Mu Qingqian and Tao Yaoyao a place to fight, but his expression was quite calm, and he didn't seem to be worried at all. Then, Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian stood opposite each other and fell silent for a moment. Suddenly, base. Tao Yaoyao pulled out her sword, thrust it forward, and attacked Mu Qingqian. See this. Mu Qingqian seemed to have come to his senses, and immediately drew out his sword to resist the attack, looking for a gap to counterattack. However, the moment the swords in their hands touched each other, the two reacted immediately. She can't be cruel? Oh, it's obviously the time for us to fight to the death for chance and luck. Ping Ping hates her so much in his heart. He keeps saying that he wants to kill her, but when he really has this fair opportunity, he can't be ruthless. What is this? Why? Why? Their eyes faced each other, and there were extremely complicated emotions hidden in their eyes. They were almost unable to understand the complexity. But this did not delay. The strength of the swords in the two people's hands became smaller and smaller. In the end, it was not so much that the two of them were fighting, but that they were performing. At this time, a ray of light flickered from the two of them, and then, the luck that was almost solidified was stripped away from the two of them. The light beam of luck that shrouded the two people disappeared, and the feeling of vigorous luck could no longer be found. The stripped luck gradually rose into the air, and the next moment, it suddenly dissipated and disappeared invisible. This moment, not only Mu Qingqian, Tao Yaoyao, and Su Yang, but also all the geniuses from the good and evil paths were immediately stunned. What luck? Where did the big ball of luck that we wanted to snatch earlier go? It's just gone? Don't make trouble, this is about the fate of both good and evil. It's just that you didn't grab it? It's just too weird to just let it go. Su Yang looked at the place in the sky where his luck had dissipated with a strange expression. Luck is gone, is the Tianzhen Dragon War over? But it ended a little too hastily, right? Moreover, has this luck returned to heaven and earth? However, no matter how you think about it, nothing feels right. Shouldn't all luck be gathered in the hands of the victorious person? How can he return to heaven and earth? If this is the case, then what happened to the talented people that I, Tao Yaoyao, and Mu Qingqian dealt with before? Thinking carefully, Su Yang felt that the whole matter was full of doubts and couldn't be straightened out at all. But in any case, the luck has dissipated. After the geniuses of good and evil were able to take action, they dispersed on their own and did not cause any more trouble. This matter should be considered over. What no one knew was that just when the luck on Mu Qingqian and Tao Yaoyao disappeared, Yang Kaoj, who was in the palace, began to gather his luck. Roar. A seemingly illusory dragon roar sounded from Zhang Kaoj's body, but no one could hear it. Immediately afterwards, something strange happened to Yang Kaoj. On that day, when she was reviewing the memorial, Yang Kaoj's momentum suddenly rose, and in an instant, he broke through a small realm. This breakthrough came so unexpectedly that it took place in an instant. Yang Kaoj himself had no time to gather his breath, and even the people around him didn't have time to do so. In an instant, many people were blown away. Fortunately, no one was injured. As for this matter, Yang Kaoj just thinks that he has accumulated a lot of experience, staying with his husband, being happy every day, and his cultivation will naturally increase. However, the next day, in the mansion, Yang Kaoj nestled in Suliang's arms. He felt a little frightened as he listened to Suliang's account of what happened outside the mansion yesterday. Lang Jun, you are too trusting. Those people are coming in a menacing manner, and there are many people. Lang Jun is just one person. What if he gets injured? Suliang shook his head with a smile. The left and right are just geniuses. The difference in strength cannot be determined by quantity. The fact that ants kill an elephant is simply nonsense in the world of immortality. Don't worry. But the words just fell. Boom. There was a roar in Yang Kaoj's body, and then, Yang Kaoj's cultivation was so strong that he broke through a small realm. Well, a breakthrough. Suliang raised his eyebrows. Yes, Cao Ji, you don't have much time to practice every day, but you can still make breakthroughs. Your talent is obviously very good, keep working hard. Although you are the emperor of the secular world, the higher your cultivation level, the better. The more, the better. One day, you will be able to use it. However, Yang Kaoj said with a strange expression, Lang Jun, if I told you that I just broke through once yesterday, you would not believe it, but what I said is indeed true. Besides, I am either dealing with government affairs or going home to accompany my husband every day. I have no time to practice at all. Hearing this, Suliang immediately frowned slightly. It sounds very satisfying to break through 2 consecutive days without much practice, but there are no adventures, and there are no pills taken, and it is a bit strange to break through inexplicably. After investigating Yang Kaoj's situation, he found nothing wrong. Suliang could only say, don't think too much. It should be because you have accumulated a lot of experience. Maybe it's not a bad thing. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Then, in the past few days, Yang Kaoj's strength has improved by leaps and bounds. Even though he had no time to practice, he broke through the realm every day. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the realm of immortality. At this moment, even Suliang noticed something was wrong. But I just can't find out what's wrong. I can only know that Yang Kaoj is doing very well now. From top to bottom, from the inside out, there is nothing wrong with him at all. On the contrary, because of the breakthrough, he is full of spirit and full of vitality and blood. And the strange thing about Yang Kaoj is not just that. The ministers in Daxia Palace have recently discovered that Biao's temperament seems to be becoming more and more iron-blooded. Privately, when they get along with Yang Kaoj, they can always feel the majestic aura of Yang Kaoj. But facing Yang Kaoj, they all feel out of breath. I just wish I could kneel down to Yang Kaoj on the spot. Especially when discussing matters with Yang Kaoj, even a look or a cough from Yang Kaoj can make them tremble, their legs become weak, and they almost fall to their knees. Even these ministers who are accustomed to big scenes are like this, not to mention the maids in the palace. They are simply trembling every day. In front of Yang Chao Ji, they just lower their heads and say nothing. I dare not say any unnecessary words. In the court, this change in Yang Kaoj seems to be even more obvious. In the courtroom, Yang Kaoj was sitting on the dragon chair, looking down at the people in the audience. His expression was cold and expressionless, and there was a heavy majesty oppressing him. After making everyone kneel down, he actually stood up and knelt down like this. Well, don't get up again. My dear friends, what do you have to say today? Yang Kaoj spoke lightly, and although his voice was small, it was like a bell reverberating in the hall, resounding in everyone's ears, making them unable to think of deceiving or even doing even the smallest trick. At this time, someone stood up and said, Your Majesty, a few days ago, there seemed to be a war breaking out in Shengjing City, outside the gate of the princess's mansion. Although it did not affect the people of Shengjing, and the street tiles were not damaged, This incident happened in Shengjing of Daxia after all, and the cause should be found out. Therefore, I suggest that the princess and Mr. Suliangsu be invited into the palace together to explain the reasons clearly. I am aware of this matter, and there is no need for Benjao and the others to do anything about it. There is no need to discuss it further. But Your Majesty, this matter is in Shengjing after all. How can we ignore it? The person who spoke before begged again, please Your Majesty, the princess, and Mr. Su. After hearing this, Yang Kaoj slowly turned his eyes to that person. Huh? Didn't you understand what I said? This. The man was stunned, then bowed and saluted, Your Majesty, calm down, I know. After that, he stepped back, his clothes almost soaked with sweat. God knows what he just went through. Just the look at Yang Kaoj made him almost kneel down. He was so oppressed by the imperial majesty of Yang Kaoj that his heart beat much slower and he didn't dare to breathe. At the same time, the ministers in the palace looked at each other with unclear feelings in their hearts. Your Majesty has become more and more domineering recently. No matter what His Majesty says, he cannot be questioned by his ministers. Moreover, His Majesty has a strong sense of imperial oppression. In the past, His Majesty would use some means to suppress the court, but now, with just one look from His Majesty, the ministers were so frightened that they did not dare to speak any more. I don't know if His Majesty's change is good or bad. The ministers were thinking in their hearts, but no one dared to say anything about it. Only Yefei, who was on the side, looked at Yang Kaoj's look that was very different from usual at this moment, and a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. Without practicing, he breaks through every day, and his character gradually becomes iron-blooded and majestic. His Majesty's changes are really too big. She has gradually begun to look less like her. What should we do? Why not go find Mr. Su? At this moment, Your Majesty is willing to listen to Mr. Su's words, right? Besides, Mr. Su has mastered mystical skills and has many methods, so he should be able to understand what happened to His Majesty. Thinking in his mind, Yefei immediately went to the residence of Suliang and Qin Benjao after going to court. In the mansion, Suliang frowned slightly as he listened to Yefei's description of Yang Kaoj's changes. Nothing happened, but his temperament gradually changed. No matter how you look at it, this is not a good sign. What happened to Cao Ji? This change started a few days ago, but I didn't find anything wrong with Cao Ji. What's going on? Suliang thought seriously, but there was no clue in his mind. Seeing Suliang thinking, Yefei said anxiously and worriedly, Mr. Su, please go to the palace to see His Majesty. If this continues, I'm worried that something unexpected will happen to His Majesty. Good. Suliang stood up and patted Yefei's shoulder very naturally. Don't worry, I will attack to find Cao Ji right now, so don't worry too much. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 368. Yes. Yefei nodded, looking as if he was really relieved. With Mr. Su's intervention, Your Majesty will be safe and sound. Hearing this, Suliang shook his head and laughed, You girl, you really believe me. After saying this, without looking at Yefei's reaction, Suliang left the mansion and went straight into the palace. In the main hall, everyone else dispersed, and there was no one around except Yang Kaoj, who was sitting in front of the desk, handling government affairs. But at this moment, squeak! The door of the palace was pushed open and footsteps sounded, which was particularly conspicuous in this quiet hall. Didn't I say that no one is allowed to come in? Yang Kaoj's voice was cold, indifferent, and full of majesty as he spoke, still lowering his head while handling government affairs. Why, even me, the husband, can't come. Suliang's voice sounded with a smile. Huh? Lang Jun. Yang Kaoj was startled, quickly put down the things in his hands, looked up at Sul Yang. A surprised smile appeared on his pretty face. "Why is Mr. Lang here?" "Come see you." Sul Yang said with a smile, walked forward and glanced behind Yang Kaoj. In fact, since he walked into the hall, he also noticed Yang Kaoj's majestic majesty and oppression. Especially when Yang Kaoj spoke and scolded him just now, this sense of majesty and oppression was particularly obvious. Even someone like Sul Yang could feel a hint of discomfort. Although it was just a hint of discomfort, Sul Yang, who was at the 5th level of the immortality realm and was invincible due to his transcendent strength, could make him feel this way, which was already remarkable. And behind Yang Kaoj, Sul Yang clearly saw the 5-clawed golden dragon condensed into substance, shining brightly, circling and roaring. However, all of this was ignored by Sul Yang. After walking a few steps in front of Yang Kaoj, Sul Yang openly challenged the Empress Majesty. He stretched out his hand and took Yang Kaoj into his arms. He placed his chin on Yang Kaoj's little head and nodded. "Why, no, am I welcome? If not, I can leave." "How could anyone not welcome you?" Yang Kaoj rolled his cute eyes and scolded. "It's true, Mr. Lang, he walked in so quietly that I thought I had recognized the wrong person. Besides, this is a place where government affairs are handled, so Mr. Lang should be more careful." "Careful?" Sul Yang looked at Yang Kaoj a little strangely. "My Majesty the Empress, we have even played the dragon chair, and here more than once, what else should we be careful about?" After hearing this, Yang Kaoj stiffened and fell into deep thought. Volume 1 Chapter 348, Being so astringent can be misunderstood, Cheongsam Feast. In the Imperial Garden, Sul Yang took Yang Kaoj and strolled there. Seeing the bright flowers and the fragrance filling the sky, a smile appeared on their faces unconsciously. "Mr. Lang, I still have some government affairs that I haven't dealt with yet." Yang Kaoj approached Sul Yang and whispered, "Otherwise, we'd better." But before she finished speaking, Sul Yang shook his head with a firm expression. "You need to balance work and rest. You are always stuck in the palace dealing with this and that. Even if you are a good person, problems will always arise over time. So, if you have time, even if you just go out for a walk, it would be good." At this point, Sul Yang turned to look at Yang Kaoj. "Why, do you think you don't want to come out with me? How can it be?" Yang Kaoj immediately shook his head in denial, as if he was afraid of what Sul Yang Duo was thinking. Sul Yang couldn't think too much. What he said just now was just a joke. Smiling and touching Yang Kaoj's head, Sul Yang looked up and suddenly found a rather strange flower not far away. His eyes lit up immediately. "Kaoj, there is a beautiful flower there. Let's go there. Let's see." Taking a step towards him, she felt her hand sinking and immediately grabbed him. Stopping, Sul Yang looked back in confusion, only to see Yang Kaoj lowering his head slightly, his pretty face flushed, his eyes evasive, looking around, and said with a somewhat guilty conscience, "Lang Jun, can you not do this here? Even if it's the back garden of the palace, people will come. It's not good for us to be seen like this." After hearing this, Sul Yang was filled with questions. Looking at the distance between himself and Yang Kaoj, Sul Yang raised the hands he and Yang Kaoj were holding, and said speechlessly, "Kaoj, we are just holding hands, there is no contact in other places." "Well, don't say it too harshly, others will misunderstand you." "Ah." Yang Kaoj was stunned for a moment, and then, as if he realized something, his pretty face turned red. She lowered her head and held Sul Yang's hand tighter. She quickly approached Sul Yang and whispered, "Yes, I was wrong. Don't mind, Mr. Lang. This girl." Seeing Yang Kaoj like this, Sul Yang shook his head and laughed. In the mansion. After walking for a long time, Sul Yang and Yang Kaoj returned here and rested. Nestling in the arms of his man, Yang Kaoj looked at the familiar scenery in front of him, his eyes gradually becoming crazy. Mr. Lang. Yang Kao's voice was very soft and soft. Actually, I can feel the recent changes in myself, but I don't know how to deal with it. I'm very worried. If I continue to change like this, sooner or later, I will no longer be myself. Having said this, Yang Kao raised his head and looked at Suliang seriously. Judging from my increasingly indifferent and iron-blooded temperament, I really don't know what I will do by then. If that time comes, I hope, Mr. Lang, you can stop me. What are you thinking about? Suliang hugged Yang Kao tightly, with a soft smile on his face, and pressed Yang Kao's little head into his arms again. Suliang then continued, "Don't worry, you will never change if it's like that. The day you're worried about will never come. I believe you, nothing will happen to you. And I will always be with you, no matter what you become. Mr. Lang." Yang Kao murmured, his eyes began to turn red, and he was moved to tears by Suliang's words. But at this moment, a beautiful figure quietly came to the two of them, stopped, looked at the two for a moment, and then wandered away. Sister Kinja. Yang Kao was stunned, quickly got up from Suliang's arms, straightened his clothes, and then said, "Sister Kinja, is there something wrong?" "Well, what can I do?" Tan Kinja looked like she was just enjoying the show, with a satisfied smile on her face, and waved her hands. "You two continue, don't worry about me." Then, gradually drift away. Looking at Tan Kinja's back, Suliang and Yang Kao looked at each other and suddenly burst out laughing. Suliang was sure that his sister came to see the show on purpose. All she could say was that she was worthy of being the leader of the clan, and she had such a dirty trick at her fingertips. This was great, letting his sister's sinister attributes break the heavy atmosphere, and Suliang couldn't connect emotionally for a while, and Suliang didn't know how to continue. But perhaps, you should also thank your sister? The atmosphere just now was indeed a bit heavy. This day, Suliang had just returned to the mansion. Before he could enter the house, he saw his girlfriend running out of the room. Her clothes seemed a little messy. Through the gap in the door that was never closed, Suliang seemed to see his sister, master, and so on, a group of people who were Suliang's women, or people who were not Suliang's women. "Suliang, wait a moment." Qin Benjao stopped Suliang, took Suliang to sit in the yard, pressed him on the recliner, and threw him a book. "Here, you read here first, don't go into the house yet, master and the others, but I have prepared a special gift for you." "Special gift?" Suliang scratched his head, not quite understanding. "Well, it's just for Suliang and us to relax." Qin Benjao looked like you shouldn't take it too seriously, waved her hands and said, "Wait a moment, you hear us calling you, come back into the house, got it?" "Understood." Suliang nodded, and actually sat on the chair and read a book peacefully. "Since it is a gift prepared by my own family for myself, of course I have to be obedient. Anyway, you can see it in a while. There is no point in rushing for this moment." Then, after waiting for a long time, Suliang finally heard his girlfriend shouting from the room, "Suliang, we are ready, come in." Upon hearing this, Suliang immediately threw the chat notebook in his hand on the table, stood up and walked into the room. And the moment he opened the door and saw everything in the room, Suliang was stunned immediately. What's going on? I have traveled back in time again? What a paradise this is. See. Starting from Qin Benjao, to Tan Kinja, Wan Qing, and even Mu Qing Qian, Tao Yao Yao and other women living in the mansion, all of them put on various cheongsams and stood in front of Suliang. The room is full of stunning beauties, each competing for the top spot. There are so many beauties, but each one has his or her own victory. No matter which one, they are all very beautiful. This is simply a cheongsam feast, isn't it? Suliang, do you like it? Qin Benjao pretended to be elegant and took small steps to come to Suliang. She supported Suliang's shoulders with her tender white lotus arms outside her short sleeves. She smiled sweetly and said, "We have prepared this gift and discussed it for a long time." "Yeah, I like it very much." Suliang nodded seriously, "I think the more gifts like this, the better." Volume 1 Chapter 349 Yinghuo reappears, and your best friend is here to help you out. Qin Benjao was wearing a white cheongsam, elegant and light, with a light lily pattern embroidered on it. Under the cheongsam that just passed her knees, there was a pair of snow-white silk, and her small feet were wrapped in black leather shoes, fresh and indifferent. Paired with Qin Benjao's snow-white skin and long silver hair, her cool, elegant, ethereal and fairy-like temperament completely sets off the look and makes people admire her. However, at this moment, the misty fairy was nestled in her husband's arms, and her beautiful white legs were rubbing against her husband's body, adding a touch of indescribable charm to the pure feeling. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 369. Sulang, I'm going to wear this with you tonight, okay? Qin Benjao hugged Suliang's neck with her arms, leaned her head close to Suliang, exhaled like blue, and her voice was charming and soft. I think it's pretty good. Suliang nodded, suddenly feeling a little hopeful in his heart. At this time, Tan Kinja walked over slowly and glared at her apprentice. They are all here, Yao you are so dependent on Liang, you are so shameless. Hearing Tan Kinja's voice, Suliang turned around and saw that Tan Kinja was wearing a black cheongsam with countless complicated patterns embroidered on it. Her plump legs were wrapped in black silk, and her small jade feet were wearing a pair of high heels. The black cheongsam is graceful and elegant. When paired with black silk, it brings a different kind of charm. With the addition of Tan Kinja's charming body, this charm is simply magnified to the extreme, making it difficult to resist. Master just envies me for being able to pester Sulang in an upright manner. Qin Benjao showed off a little proudly, if you have the ability, Master will come too. Traitor, how dare you laugh at Master? Tan Kinja glared at her traitor, stretched out her hand, pushed Qin Benjao to the ground, and beat her on the back, causing Qin Benjao to struggle wildly and scream. Sister, please show mercy. Suliang hurriedly stopped him. He couldn't just watch his girlfriend suffer, right? But then, two beautiful figures came to his side, one on the left and one on the right, blocking his sight. Suliang looked up. Huh? Master? Wanyu. I saw. Wan Qing and Qin Wanyu stood together. Both of them were wearing purple cheongsam, but compared with Qin Wanyu, Wan Qing's was a little more elegant. Qin Wanyu, who was wearing a purple cheongsam, looked even more graceful and charming, and she really looked like a noble lady who respected the world. The lavender cheongsam, while charming, seemed a little purer. Coupled with the black silk on Wan Qing's legs, her whole body felt like a fallen angel, falling into the mortal world, tainted with a hint of coquettish charm. My good disciple, do you still remember the clothes on my master's body? Wan Qing hugged Suliang's arm very naturally, and the tenderness and charm in her eyes when she looked at Suliang seemed to be undisguised. You made this for my teacher. Qin Wanyu on the other side also walked up, held Suliang's arm in her arms, and let Suliang's arm sink into her breasts, and even deliberately let it sink deeper. Husband, husband, look at my body, the one I'm wearing was designed by me myself. Is it comparable to the one worn by Sister Wan Qing? After finishing her words, feeling the cold gaze from Wan Qing, Qin Wanyu shrank her neck, but still mustered up her courage. Just kidding, you must be a good sister to me on weekdays, but now in front of the king, how could I let you go? Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, Suliang quickly spoke to comfort him, but before he could finish speaking, Ying Kaoj came over. Ying Kaoj is wearing a red cheongsam, embroidered with little traces of golden dragon patterns, which complements her red hair. It is elegant and luxurious at the same time, yet domineering and majestic. It directly adds to Ying Kaoj's already majestic look. His temperament has improved a bit. Hey, old woman, where did you get the confidence to think that your designs can match those of Lang Jun? Ying Kaoj fired directly at Qin Wanyu. Although her relationship with Qin Wanyu had become very good due to Suliang's intervention, after so many years of fighting, she still had this little habit. Then, Qin Wanyu immediately started fighting with Ying Kaoj, and it was Wan Qing who started the fight. However, Suliang was finally quieted down. Brother Suliang. Tao Yao Yao's soft and energetic voice sounded, and then, Suliang saw a pink figure, suddenly rushed up, and threw herself directly into his arms. Quickly reaching out to hug her, Suliang had time to look at the beauty in front of him. Tao Yao Yao was wearing a cheongsam that was as pink as a peach blossom, and she had a pure and sweet girlish aura. But under the cheongsam, her beautiful legs as white as jade and the exposed small jade feet added a bit of weirdness to her. The charming feeling. All in all, cute. Humph, you witch, let go of senior brother Su. Mu Qingqian followed Tao Yao Yao and walked over quickly, trying to pull Tao Yao Yao. Similar to what Mu Qingqian wears on weekdays, Mu Qingqian is now wearing a bright yellow cheongsam, which is simple and elegant, making her look tall, dignified, and dazzling. Especially the white silk on the slender legs shows a more yellow color. The whiteness adds a sense of purity, making the righteous goddess known by everyone as if she really has become a goddess. But after all, it was the first time she wore this kind of clothes. Whether it was her exposed shoulders and arms, or her beautiful white silk legs that others could see, she felt ashamed. Her pretty face was slightly red, and she was extremely beautiful. Square things. Humph, Mu Qingqian, brother Suliang is not yours, why don't you let others get close to you? On the contrary, Tao Yao Yao hugged Suliang's neck a little tighter, as if her whole body was embedded in Suliang's arms. See this. Mu Qingqian no longer cared about being reserved and jumped into Suliang's arms, and began to compete with Tao Yao Yao for position. Looking at the two women who were jealous in his arms, Suliang sighed and felt a little dizzy. At this time, a figure who was also wearing an ice blue cheongsam, as cool and elegant as jade carved from ice, but with a cute look on her face, walked past Suliang. Especially the pair of stockings with gradient colors from white to ice blue on her legs, it's really hard not to be attractive. Senior Jing Meng. Suliang looked at the cute Jing Meng with some surprise. He really didn't expect that this person would actually wear a cheongsam and come here. Well, Qingqian told me that this dress suits me very well, and everyone in the family will wear it today. Jing Meng blinked, as if she hadn't reacted yet, so, I put it on. Hearing this, Suliang was speechless. How cute is Jing Meng that he was even encouraged by his apprentice to change into a cheongsam. And just when the atmosphere in Suliang's home was lively, Ying Huo, who had disappeared for a long time and was hard to find, appeared again. Under the shroud of darkness, a cold and beautiful shadow fell on the ground, walking slowly forward. Suddenly, ahead, the same beautiful figure appeared. The aura of this beautiful figure was slightly weak, as if she had been injured in some way, but it did not affect her plump and round figure at all. Yaksha Hitomi. Qianying, who was a little weak in breath, said, walked out of the darkness, and revealed her face, but it was Zi Mei who had attacked Suliang, Mu Qingqian, and Zhenzi before, and was then severely beaten by Wan Qing Jing Meng. Why are you back? Zai Mei looked at the Yinghuo member named Ya Shaitong in front of her and asked subconsciously. Are you in charge of my affairs? Yaxetong's voice was cold and indifferent. Tisk. Zime clicked her tongue and was too lazy to talk to Yaxetong. Although they were both members of the same organization, the relationship between them was not necessarily that good. But Zime stopped talking, but Yaxetong didn't let her go. I heard that you messed up the matter. After a moment of silence, Yaxetong's mocking voice sounded, I'm just a prodigy from a dragon cave in the refining area. How could it fail? What does this have to do with you? Zime's pretty face immediately darkened, and she couldn't help but imagine the scene that day. I am a person who is above the level of transcendence, facing several juniors who are only in the immortality realm, and I am actually being delayed for a long time without solving it. In the end, he was actually counterattacked by that immortal realm boy and was seriously injured. She was very embarrassed when she thought about this incident, not to mention that she was later caught by others and had to take action from the owner to be rescued. It almost makes her a laughing stock. Nature has nothing to do with me. Yaxetong chuckled twice again, with a smile full of ridicule. I was dragged away by several juniors in the immortal realm, and then taken away again. Tisk tisk, you can't even handle small things with me. Zime, you still have the nerve to stay here, are you in Yinghuo? Hearing this, Zime was so angry that her pretty face flushed red, her blood surged, and she immediately asked, you have the nerve to ask me here, what about your own affairs? Can it be completed? That's natural. Hitomi nodded as if it was a matter of course, it's just a small thing, how could we not be able to complete it? Do you think everyone is a waste like you? I'm not afraid to tell you that the few of us have already gathered the luck of the rest of the area. Now, there is only one last step to choose its true owner. As soon as these words came out, Zime's complexion changed slightly, and she whispered to herself, is this plan finally going to come true? Shengjing, outside Suliang's mansion. On this day, a beautiful figure walked slowly from a distance and stopped in front of the mansion. After confirming that he had found the right one, the beautiful figure slowly stepped forward and knocked on the door. After a while, the door of the mansion opened, and Qin Binjao's little head came out. Looking at the beautiful figure, she blinked in confusion, who is this sister? Who are you here to see? Taking a deep breath, Qianying said calmly, my name is Dong Jun, and I am Wanyu's friend. Is Wanyu in the house? This beautiful figure is actually Dong Jun, who traveled thousands of miles from Yin-Yang Dao sect to Daxia. So you came to see the Queen Mother. Qin Binjao was stunned for a moment, then opened the door happily and waved, come in quickly, the Queen Mother is just coming back. If you come earlier, you might have to wait for her for a while. Looking at the wide open door and the enthusiastic Qin Binjao, Dong Jun was stunned for a moment, but then he nodded calmly and walked in. In Qin Wanyu's room. Qin Wanyu looked at Dong Jun in front of her with great joy and asked curiously, why are you here? Although she usually communicates with Dong Jun, they are just talking through the projection after all. Generally speaking, the communication is about business matters. It has been a long time since they have seen each other. Qin Wanyu naturally misses her best friend very much. Come see you. Dong Jun took his best friend's hand and asked with concern, Wanyu, are you being bullied here? Humph, that man named Suliang has got you, but he still doesn't cherish you. There are so many women around him. Humph, it's really abominable. I have already seen one at the door. She looks harmless, but who knows what she is hiding inside. You are such a simple and kind person, maybe you will be bullied by them. Have you seen it outside the door? Is it Binjao who opened the door? Qin Wanyu suddenly wanted to laugh when she heard her best friend's words. She really wanted to tell Dong Jun that that girl Binjao was indeed very innocent and didn't have any bad intentions. If she had any bad intentions, would it count to add a woman to her man's side? Smiling and shaking her head, Qin Wanyu said, Dong Jun, you are overthinking. My sisters are all very easy to get along with. They are all very good people. They take good care of me on weekdays. How could I be bullied? Besides, even I am a newcomer. As long as I can stay with my husband, I am already happy. How can I feel any grievance? Hearing this, Dongjun glared at his best friend with a bit of hatred. You are just too soft-hearted and kind, that's why you make people worry. Then, he looked like he didn't believe it again. You said you weren't bullied. I don't believe it. You must have been bullied and didn't dare to tell me. As he said that, he actually took Qin Wanyu's hand and started to walk out. Let's go, let me help you. She looked speechlessly at her best friend who believed that she was being bullied. Feeling her best friend's affection, Qin Wanyu couldn't refuse, so she could only nod helplessly. Okay, I'll do whatever you want. But, seeing that her best friend cared about her so much, Qin Wanyu felt very grateful and said sincerely, thank you, Dongjun. Oh, what are you grateful for our relationship? Dongjun waved his hand nonchalantly, and went to where others were in an aggressive manner. However, Dongjun soon turned into a coward. In Tan Kinja's room. You mean, we bully Wanyu? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 370. Tan Kinja blinked in confusion and glanced at Qin Wanyu who looked helpless. A dark smile appeared on her face unconsciously, and she suddenly began to mourn. How is it possible? How could we bully Wanyu, woolen cloth? She is graceful. She is very popular on weekdays. Aoyang likes her very much. Because of her, she has neglected us for a long time. Now, the most powerful person in the entire Su family is Wanyuan. As long as she says anything Wanyu says, Aoyang will listen. If she says something bad about us, we will be thrown into the cold palace. Volume 1 Chapter 350 Dongjun is about to lose everything, the storm is coming. So, it's too late for us to please Wanyu. How can we bully her? It would be great if she doesn't bully us. Those words made Dongjun faint. What, how come my pure and kind best friend suddenly turned into a big devil? Is it really wrong for me to come here to cause trouble for myself? Qin Wanyu, who was on the side, sighed in her heart when she saw her best friend being fooled by Sister Kinja into being unable to find her. Dongjun, you have already lost, okay. How could you be Sister Kinja's opponent? Seeing that Tan Kinja was about to cry, Dongjun had the nerve to stay here, so he had to find an excuse and run away with Qin Wanyu. It wasn't until he was sitting in the pavilion that Dongjun finally came to his senses and slapped his thigh suddenly. Hey, that's not right. Was I deceived by her? Wanyu, you are so kind and pure, how could you do such a thing to bully others, let alone become the dominant figure in the family? I don't even dare to think about such a thing. Hiss. Qin Wanyu took a breath of air, moved away Dongjun's hand on her leg, and said expressionlessly, you just realized it? I'm not this kind of person in the first place. At home, my husband treats each of us the same. There is no such thing as bullying anyone. But you, Sister Kinja just fooled you with a few words, and you really believed Sister Kinja and started to doubt me. Are we still friends? Ahem, who made that person named Tan Kinja act so real? Dongjun defended with some embarrassment. It really didn't sound good to be told about someone's deception into doubting his friend. But then, she reacted again. Just as she was about to pat her thigh, she was stopped by Qin Wanyu with an expressionless face. Withdrawing his hand and smiling awkwardly, Dongjun said, Humph, that woman can even deceive me, let alone you. Now I have every reason to doubt whether they are really bullying you. That's enough for you. Qin Wanyu was speechless. Sister Kinja is the leader of the section, I can't even play with her. How could you possibly do that? Then, I heard Dong Jun say, let's go, let's find the next person. Do you still want to go? Qin Wanyu didn't stop her best friend. She thought about it carefully. It seems, Sister Wan Qing is at home. Just look for her. Before Qin Wanyu could finish speaking, Dong Jun made his decision immediately. Qin Wanyu really wanted to persuade her best friend. After all, Wan Qing was the biggest boss in the family. If her best friend approached her, she was obviously asking for boredom. But after thinking about it, Qin Wanyu still didn't say anything. Walking into Wan Qing's room, Dong Jun stood aside with his hands on his hips, condescending, as if asking for guilt. I am Dong Jun, Wanyu's friend. I heard that you always bully Wanyu. Bullying her. Wan Qing's tenderness was given to Sul Yang. When facing others, she had always been aloof and cold, and she gave Dong Jun a cold look without saying a word. But Dong Jun was frightened to death by the look in his eyes from the transcendent top expert. Excuse me. Dong Jun immediately bowed and apologized, and quickly ran out with Qin Wanyu. Before leaving, Qin Wanyu smiled apologetically at Wan Qing. The two of them ran until they reached the pavilion before finally stopping. Dong Jun hugged his legs, curled up into a ball, pouted, looking pitiful, but he admired his best friend. Wanyu, you are so amazing, you can actually deal with such a person. Life. You are overthinking. We are all very good sisters. Why can't we get along with each other? Qin Wanyu shook her head. At this time, Sul Yang happened to come over and hugged Qin Wanyu very naturally. Then he looked at Dong Jun, who was huddled in the corner, and asked with some confusion, hey, who is this coward? Coward? Dong Jun was startled and raised his head to look at Sul Yang. At this time, Sul Yang finally realized that this was an acquaintance. Dong Jun? Why are you here? When did you arrive? However, Dong Jun had no intention of answering Sul Yang's words at this moment. Instead, he complained pitifully, Sul Yang, the women in your family are so cruel. I am a guest. I just arrived at your house and I have already been bullied twice. Yes. Twice. How on earth did you tame them? Hearing this, Sul Yang scratched his head and looked at Qin Wanyu. What did this guy do? Why does he look so shocked? Qin Wanyu finally couldn't help it and burst into laughter. After some fun, Sul Yang and Dong Jun sat in the pavilion, and then they got down to business. I came here this time not just to see Wanyu. Dong Jun glanced at Wanyu and said seriously, this time, it was the sect leader who asked me to come. Your sect master? Sul Yang immediately thought of Dong Huang's appearance and couldn't help but ask, what's the matter with your sect leader? Let me give you a heads up. Dong Jun recalled what the sect leader had said, and then said, Ying Huo disappeared on the surface, but in fact, they have been doing some little tricks. Ying Huo. Sul Yang's face changed slightly and became solemn. Zi Mei, and the mysterious lord of Ying Huo. Although Sul Yang only had 1 or 2 interactions with Ying Huo, the mystery, power, and impression of this organization as if it was planning something big left a deep impression on Sul Yang. If the opponent is Ying Huo, that does seem a bit troublesome. Immediately afterwards, Dong Jun continued, the sect master said that the Tianzheng Dragon War is still not over, and Ying Huo's plan seems to be related to this. The real storm has just arrived. A real storm? What do you mean? Sul Yang asked with some confusion. There is also the heavenly demonstration Dragon War. I saw with my own eyes that luck wiped out the world and there was nowhere to look for it. How could the heavenly demonstration Dragon War not be over yet? What else did your sect leader say? Shaking his head, Dong Jun said, the sect master just said this and did not give any real explanation. Hearing this, Sul Yang became even more confused. Ying Huo, luck, heavenly proof of dragon battle, real storm. Sul Yang couldn't guess what kind of wonderful reaction these keywords would produce when added together. Suliang was even more puzzled by this so-called conspiracy. Sure enough, Dong Huang is a great riddler. It is true that he sent someone to remind him, but these reminders from Dong Huang had no effect at all except making him have questions in his head. Even for defense, he didn't know where to take precautions. The Riddler is a no-brainer. At this moment. Volume 1 # Chapter 351 The Empress turns into a dragon, a dilemma, kill or be killed. Tao Yao Yao suddenly ran over from behind everyone, jumped directly on Suliang's back, put her arms around Suliang's neck, and asked curiously. Senior Sister Dong Jun, does Master have anything to say to me? Seeing how close his sect leader's disciple was to Suliang, Dong Jun's mouth twitched and he shook his head. The sect leader didn't say anything about junior sister. For a moment, Tao Yao Yao was stunned. What's going on? I've been out for so long, and Master doesn't even care about me. Grinning her mouth and coaxing her eyes, Tao Yao Yao looked miserable as she rubbed her little face on Suliang's back. Brother Suliang, Master doesn't care about others. Okay, your master, she must be. Suliang patted Tao Yao Yao's little hand and was only halfway through his words to comfort her when he suddenly stopped. Immediately afterwards, he suddenly turned his head and looked in the direction of the palace, his expression a little ugly. At the same time, in the sky of Shengjing, 2 meteors flashed across the sky, as fast as thunder. They couldn't even see their shadows clearly, and they crashed directly into the palace. Boom! There was a loud roar, and 2 huge holes were made on the ground in the palace. 2 figures appeared from them, it was Zi Mei and Yakshatong. Ying Huo, after preparing for a long time, finally attacks. Is this the Great Xia Palace? Zi Mei crossed her arms and looked at the surrounding palace guards who lacked courage even when they came around. She chuckled, as expected of a secular dynasty, they don't even have a single master who can stand on the stage. Humph, Zi Mei, don't forget your previous lesson. Yashatong's voice was cold, be more careful. If you mess up what happened this time, even the Lord will not spare you. Humph, you don't need to remind me. Zi Mei snorted dissatisfied and looked up into the palace. Let's go, the person we are looking for is among them. Say it. The 2 of them flew into the sky again, and the guards didn't even have a chance to stop them. The little breath that the 2 of them leaked was enough to make people suffocate, and they could only watch the 2 of them leave. Just a moment. The 2 of them fell down and stood in front of a beautiful figure walking out of the court. This beautiful shadow is Ying Chao Ji. Ying Huo's goal is to win Chao Ji. Who are you? Ying Kaoj frowned slightly. Why do you want to invade my country, Daxia? Zi Mei and Yakshatong are too lazy to talk to Ying Kaoj. In their eyes, Ying Kaoj is just a tool for them to achieve their goals. Even if they have the cultivation level of immortality, they are incompetent in front of them anyway. Hit. Let's do it. Zi Mei said softly. Yashatong nodded, and then suddenly stretched out his hand in the direction of Ying Kaoj. Moment. Ying Kaoj's whole body was controlled by Yashatong, and he couldn't even blink.